Okay. We're also recording the session tonight, just so we have it for records, and it'll be available to everybody. Because there's about 10 of us, not too big of a group. Does everybody else want to go around and introduce themselves? I'll just go by the order I have people on my screen. I guess the next person would be Peggy Schultz, if you want to introduce yourself. Peggy, can you hear us? Okay, we can come back. I have a Jennifer, if you want to just quickly introduce yourself.
I'm Jennifer Beyer. I'm a resident of North Wilmington.
For coming out tonight. I have Richard Butler, if you want to introduce yourself. If people are having trouble unmuting, I believe on my screen it's on the lower left side. There's a little microphone thing.
Okay, I found a little unmute button.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Richard Butler. I'm a member of the Estates of Corner Ketch Maintenance Corporation in Newark, Delaware.
Great. Thanks for coming out. Mary Lee Murphy, you want to introduce yourself? Let's see, I may be able to unmute people also as well.
There we go. Is
There
that
we go.
better?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. Hi, Mary Lee Murphy. I live in Eastburn Heights. Full disclosure, I did not join the conversation until 6:30. So I missed about half an hour of setup. So I'll probably be doing a lot of listening.
That's okay.
But interested in the subject and to hear what's going on.
Great. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. I think Jan Connors, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Hi, resident in Middletown.
Karen Anderson, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm in North Wilmington, resident.
Great. Thanks for coming out. There's a John H. I don't think you've introduced yourself yet. Are you?
Yep, John Hanlon. I'm a developer just trying to take in the overall approach to my profile.
Coming out tonight. And Peggy, were you able to?
Yeah,
Okay. If you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Peggy Schultz, and I'm Land Use Transportation Chair for the League of Women Voters. And I've been following land use issues for decades, before you guys were born.
Thanks for coming out. And is Rich Hall in here as well? I see him in our room.
Hey there. I just got plopped in here. I'm just here for fun. I'm just gonna listen. I've done enough talking tonight, probably. So just carry on, Phil, and just kind of floating around, helping and whatever. Thanks. Glad everyone's here.
Okay, so we can start with the mapping exercise. So I'm gonna post the map in the link so you can go along on your own computer if that's an option, or you can, I'm gonna share my screen as well, so you don't have to toggle between screens and that. So I just posted the link in the chat. So now I'm going to share my screen and Okay, can everybody see my screen? It may take a second to kind of come up. You should see the map.
Yeah.
Okay. So as was described before, the areas that are kind of this orange tan color areas where there's been or there currently is like a community area master plan that's happened. So those areas have already been discussed more in depth. And you're welcome to make comments about those areas as well, but just put that out there for your information. The areas in purple are areas that, are likely, we've identified likely, grow or change over time. So the point of this exercise is to kind of take a look at the map. Do we agree with some of these areas or do we not agree with them? And then we can go through. I'll show you how this site works. So as discussed, are the typologies, which are again here as well. So the mixed residential, town, village, center, and economic hub. Okay, so when you, let's say you have an area, let's just pick here. This is where the county's main office is. So that's where and how you should grow. So the options, no, minimal change, incremental change, or transform. So you click on the one you would like to choose, and you pick an area, and then the pop-up shows up. So then you can indicate how you'd like to, if it fits into one of those typologies. Let's just say, as this area grows over time, maybe it should become an even larger economic hub with more offices in that area. And then down here, you can add any further comments you may have. Or if you don't agree with any of the categories, you can also add those in the comments as well. That's also an option. And then when you're done, just make sure to hit the save button over here. And then that way it's recorded so that we'll have your results. So to start off, are there any areas on here that people feel are, appropriate areas where they feel that, they may see growth over time, or there are areas missing that aren't on here, or some of the areas shouldn't see any change at all?
Looks like Peggy's hand is up.
Oh, Peggy, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering, I have a couple questions. How many people are projected to come to Newcastle County by 2050, new guys?
I think by 2050, so baseline projection, I believe, if nothing, let's just say everything stayed the same as it currently is, I think it's around 566,000 projected over of a net gain in population, and then about 224,000 jobs associated with that population.
So how many new people?
About 566,000.
556,000 new people?
No, total.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, yeah, over a net, yeah, sorry, not on top of existing, just total in general.
Okay, but so I'm wondering why the municipalities are not in purple too. Now I know that Newcastle County doesn't have jurisdiction over them, but particularly I'm thinking of Wilmington. I'm not sure, but I think it's probably about 30,000 people short of what it was in its heyday. And it seems to me that instead of using up green spaces and adding to our vehicle miles traveled, that it would make incredible good sense if we were to put people in those cities, and particularly in Wilmington.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think the idea was to focus on the areas we do have direct zoning control over, but I think a larger recommendation and hopefully something that can come out of this whole planning process is that we do need more coordination with our municipalities.
Like
Because
major coordination.
life doesn't just end once you cross a line, it's all
Right.
part of an ecosystem. So I'm just going to put a pin in Wilmington just so we have. I'm actually just going to leave it blank and just. Okay, so I just wrote more growth should be directed into Wilmington and other municipalities and not on new like greenfield sites. Does that kind of get summarize your point?
Thank you.
Okay, so does anybody else have any other opinions, feelings, comments, thoughts? You can just raise your hand or you can just go ahead and talk because we're a small group, so we don't.
I do have a question about the choice of Greenville for one of the development areas.
Okay.
It seems to me in the past decade, Greenville has made its decision as to what it wants to look like and be developed, and it's kind of got that cute little main street through it that's got the nice bricked in areas. So why is that listed as a development area?
I think because of the existing zoning, we can actually pull that up to show kind of like.
And Phil, while you're doing that, I might know an answer. This is Rich. Just get some background. So the areas that were colored in, were highlighted, were areas we think might change. It doesn't necessarily always mean more growth. So I think, and Phil might know better than I might trigger a memory for him on this. It was conversation about, I believe, Greenville looking at some additional design standards and maybe some other things there. So I guess I would just say, I get your point you just mentioned, and but I would just say, just because it's highlighted doesn't necessarily mean that it's targeted for more growth per se. I think there was discussion about doing some additional planning and design standards there and some other things along those lines. So I think that might be why.
Okay.
But
It
regardless,
just confused me.
sure. No, I get it. I get it. But regardless, if you have thoughts about that area, that's why we're here. So I guess focus a little less on why it's colored, and if that's an area that's important to you, let us know what you think.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think I'd say more of areas that may be likely to see change. Because change is not necessarily growth per se, but that may be a better kind of framework of looking at it.
Peggy raised her hand again.
I don't, just shut me up if I'm talking.
No, go ahead.
I can't remember what you call that little area around the hospital.
Oh, Churchman's Crossing.
Churchman's Crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in purple, isn't it? Well, to me, that seems like an ideal place for a transit place and for really very dense development.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, just for clarification, I forgot to explain this a little bit. So this hatched area, there's currently a Churchman's Crossing transportation plan underway.
oh,
There was one originally in, I believe, 1997. So this is an update to that plan. So it's just hatched so that it shows it's currently in progress. But within that, you have the mall, you have a lot of stuff in that area. So I'll go ahead and add that pin area. So I'm writing opportunity for TOD, denser development. Did I miss anything?
no, that's good. TOD is the key.
The key word, okay. I believe, Karen, you have your hand raised.
Yes. In the upper part of the map, near South Wilmington,
Yeah,
where the Route 9 corridor is.
yeah,
Okay. For some reason, that purple bubble stops at 495. However, north of 495 also is Newcastle County. And that area is like a no man's land, and it is forgotten. I think that purple needs to extend all the way up to that Wilmington line.
okay.
And personally, I really believe that Newcastle County and the city of Wilmington really need to work harder on what is going on north of 495. That's where people dump stuff. Just recently, I think Puccini sold a piece of property to an asphalt company that is now going to be placed right next to residences. Southbridge is not a dumping ground. We are so tired of these industrial uses being approved up against this residential neighborhood. We are trying to save this neighborhood. So it can't be forgotten. And looking at this, the way that you have everything set up, it looks exactly like that. That area north of 495 is designated a no man's land, and then Newcastle County approves these basically dump sites and industrial uses, which are right up against a viable neighborhood. I would like to see Newcastle County support that area and not use it as a dumping ground. I think right now in that area, they allowed a some kind of car demo. All these cars are all piled up right next to a residential area. If any of those people on the Newcastle County board had to live like that, they would be outraged. But somebody approved it. It's right next to the I think the Wilmington Parks and Rec building. It's a big junkyard.
Those are great points. Phil, do you know why there's that gap? So, ma'am, you're talking about that space to the north of that kind of oval, where it says Route 9. That space right where his cursor is right there.
Yes, Route 9 continues all the way up to the border of Newcastle County. I mean, Wilmington, city of Wilmington. And that whole corridor needs to be addressed.
Right,
right. You know, I'm just saying, please don't create another just empty no man's land there. There's a serious problem there.
Right. No, I totally agree. And so this is Rich Hall, by the way. So just two quick points. One is we must want to hear from you all, and I'm glad that we are. So one thing I would ask, if you think for a minute, what you think you like to see there. The other, I just want to point out, and this is important for the exercise we're doing right now, like you said, the county approves things there. The way that gets changed, the way they get approved is because the zoning allows it, right? So that may not be a satisfactory answer to you, but the zoning's been there a long time. So what we need from you all to say is, we want that zoning to change to something else, right? And then the plan does it. So that's part of how this works. That's what
I thought that's what this whole process was about. This is the opportunity to change zoning. This is the time to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think it needs to be more, I think needs to be zoned as a town or village center there versus that industrial that is at that area. Many years ago, and I'm showing my age, it used to be a very viable area with stores and places for people to shop, and it offered jobs. And slowly but surely, it was turned into this dumping place. You see it all over that area, just auto junk cars, and now that dumb diamond materials, contractor materials, they've allowed them to take over that whole area. I just find it disgusting. Every time I drive by there, it irritates me to no end. And I just believe that no one on Newcastle County Board would ever want to be living next to that type of junk that they are allowing next to the African and American neighborhoods, because that's who lives there, you know, and whatever they don't want in their neighborhood, they put it in ours. Just junk. So yes, change the zoning. And if you want to ask me what that's going to be, I think that's an unfair question, because if you look at the different zones that you have in Newcastle County, I think there's like 10 or 12 or something like that. I'm not sure that this is the meeting to say, tell me what zone it is. My understanding was what type of area is what we were supposed to indicate. And I think that that area needs to be changed from this type of industrial manufacturing to more of a town village center or mixed residential.
Okay, that's
But
good.
okay,
Yeah, I
thank
wasn't,
you.
I didn't mean to ask to put upon you to specifically tell us what the exact zone, but no, I think you got what I was asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, were there other comments as well? Does anybody have their hand up? All right, don't always immediately see it if it does pop up, so. Also feel free to speak. We don't have a big group, so we can.
It is 7:24.
Okay.
This is open to everyone. So if you do want to click on the link that is in the chat, feel free, and you can go in and utilize this map and indicate where you would like change or wouldn't like to see a change. If you like how things are today, if you do see an area that definitely needs to change, this would be a good tool because we will be utilizing this in our analysis. So with that, Phil, are there any comments before we do move on? Because we are actively using the map and it will be recorded. So are there any other comments? If not, Phil?
I'll put it in the chat one more time, just because sometimes when people come in, if they came in after it was posted, it doesn't show up for them. So again, the link I just put in the chat, it'll take you to this website and you can go in your own time, spend as much time as you'd like, kind of going through and any comments. So the second portion, I'm going to be focusing more on considering trade-offs and strategies. For the sake of time, we're going to focus on one, and then we can kind of expand from there. But let me get that set up, and I'm going to share my screen as well. So let's see. Sorry about that. Okay. So we were at, let me bring this up. Okay. So we were asked to focus on strategy 3, and we'll go through it quickly and then we can expand as well, because I know people may be eager to see some of the other ones, but just for the sake of time, let's go to the prompt. So the following questions are associated with the NCC at 2050 Comprehensive Plans Public Forum for July 15, 2021. That's today. So the object of this sort of exercise is to look at some of the potential strategies which could ultimately become county policies, changes to zoning, those types of things, and look at some of the trade-offs that they have. Not every decision is good or bad, but there may be different things to consider. So sorry, we're strategy 3. So we were asked to focus on, so if more permissive zoning in residential districts, so in order to achieve that, standards based on building design and form versus number of units, adjust impact fees based on size versus per unit, and parcels with single family homes. And just for, in case people aren't aware, impact fees are, they're usually when someone goes to pull a permit or to build a new house or commercial building, they're assessed impact fees. So those goes toward things that like schools, fire departments, those types of things. And I believe currently it's more of like a flat fee. So this is saying have it more associated with the per unit. So one potential benefit of having more permissive zoning in residential districts. So the one trade-off could be more affordable housing throughout the county, as opposed to neighborhoods that are more homogeneous in terms of housing type and household income. Does anybody have any strong feelings about sort of this first concept? And Connor will take notes as we go.
Is there somewhere on the website that this is?
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me post that for you. Sorry, I meant to do that. Okay, it should be in the chat. Let me know if it's not. So I'm not sure if anybody has any strong feelings. I know Peggy, you have strong opinions about housing and density and those types of things. Not, again, you can always come back to this. So the second set of trade-offs could be more options for housing finance and income. So like an ADU or accessory dwelling unit could help an owner of a property, pay a mortgage or offset some of their living costs. And an ADU also is known as an accessory dwelling unit. A lot of people call them granny flats or things like that. They're usually like if you have a house and then you have a basement apartment in it, that's what an ADU would be. But the main thing is that the owner of the property lives in one of those units. And then potential trade-off, neighborhoods are more homogeneous in terms of housing type and household income. So housing type would be like single-family detached houses versus duplexes and small apartments or something like that.
So I'm confused on what you're asking us to do. You're just saying pick A or B, which one's the better trade-off?
I think it's to have the discussion of like, these are the types of trade-offs you have to consider when discussing housing. So from more like broad level, maybe do you think it'd be helpful to go through all of them first and then just maybe have more of a larger discussion about it?
What if you don't agree with either one of them? Like trade-off 1, it says foster long-term economic growth and reinvest in areas already served by infrastructure. Or
this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or short-term public revenue gain, such as collecting development fees. I don't see how either one of those benefits. Basically, what you're saying in number 1 is put more money into areas where they already have money. Areas already served by infrastructure. So places that already have development, we should put more money into it. B is short-term public revenue gain, such as collecting development fees. There's no reference for this. At the top, it says refer to proposed strategy, ... What does that mean?
Yeah, sorry, I understand the way it's set up is a little confusing. I think the idea is trying to get at the, like, whether we continue to, when we do have new development, where is that development directed? Is that directed on a greenfield site that was a farm, and you have to build more roads and sewer to get there? Or should development be directed in areas where they can hook up to the existing sewer or hook up to existing infrastructure systems? But I understand your point. I think it's to try to discuss those trade-offs. There's no right or wrong answer, but for when if you do want to answer on your own yourself, you can also let us know in an open-ended area any additional information, or if you feel that it's not relevant at all or it doesn't make sense, you can say that as well. That's fine. I won't be offended. So.
Hey, how did you get to that open end? Because I'm scrolling I just scrolled through all these trade-offs. There's no place for open end here.
Should be like, what else do you want us to know?
That's under plan success.
Yeah, the window, yeah, it should let you.
Okay, so I think it's a lot more complicated than maybe it needs to be. It's not real clear that you have to click on those little tiny blue arrows in order to get additional items to fill out. Doesn't even say that.
Oh, you're talking about these.
Yeah, the only way that you could put anything in independent of this fixed survey is to click on the little tiny blue arrow. And it doesn't, I don't see, does it tell you anywhere that you should do that in order to put your other thoughts in? It doesn't look like it.
Yeah,
I have to say that I think that what would have been better is, if you're going to have trade-off A and B, I don't agree with either one of these. There should be a space directly underneath it here where I can write my comment in.
Point taken. It's hard to develop these and some of the constraints with what you can do with the software but hopefully we can start to get back in person soon, which should help with a lot of these issues. But no, I understand your concern and it's valid. Does anybody have any just comments in general about anything? Connor, do you know how much longer we have before it boots us out to the main group?
Said we were about half our time. So I think we've got some time left. If we do want to just talk about, we could do the plan success and go through that.
Which part are you talking about?
That's the end of the survey, I believe. It's what we would like. It's basically what we would like to know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that is a good question. I think just a general discussion question is what would a successful plan look like? And that could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. That could be nothing changes. That could be more transformational change.
So I mean, we can hit on that second to last question, which is, at the end of this process, what would you like to see as a result?
And Colleen, did you have your hand up? If anybody does want to speak and is having trouble figuring it out, it should be on the lower left-hand side. You should see a little microphone icon that says mute. Or if nobody has anything, that's fine too.
I'm still just confused on what we're trying to do here.
So we have these two surveys that are set up, and essentially they set up certain strategies in how the plan will be implemented. And basically, you would just go through the survey, and I guess there's two options. And I guess there should have been an area, if you didn't agree with either, where you can kind of say, well, I don't agree with either because this is what's actually missing in terms of this aspect of what that strategy is trying to improve. So that's essentially, we're just trying to get an idea of what people's thoughts are on these types of strategies. And I think we are kind of getting to the point where we're understanding that they're, the whole trade-off A and B is missing an area, which is essentially, you don't agree. And
yeah, sorry to interrupt, Con, this is Rich. Can we just use the valuable time of the people that are participating and just get their thoughts? Don't worry about the boxes and circles and survey. Just give us your thoughts on the strategies. Being good at the top and taking them one at a time. And, we don't have a lot of people and we probably have enough time to just get their thoughts. Again, don't worry about the structure or anything, just proposed strategy one, that recommendation. Maybe Connor or Phil, if you could read it and just get people's thoughts on it.
Okay, so the first strategy that we kind of went over already, but we can go through it again. So it's suggesting if you designate or target redevelopment and community growth areas with associated incentives and strategies to attract growth into those areas with a land use mix. What would that look like? Because that may include more flexible regulations in those areas, which could include a reduced impact fees, reduced parking requirements, or form-based code, which focuses more on what a building would look like as opposed to the specific use of it. It can be more predictable, so people have more of an understanding of what something may look like even before it's built.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand proposed strategy 1. So you're going to designate target redevelopment and community growth areas. So you're going to pick an area and go, okay, this area is targeted. And as part of that target, we will apply flexible regulations, reduce impact fees, parking requirements, form-based code, etc., in order to attract growth in that area. Is that that's what you're saying?
It could.
So
Yeah.
I pick an area, I go, we're going to target this, and then you outline it, and then you say, for that area, this is how we're going to. This is the way regulations will work in that area. Okay, so just in general, from that proposed strategy, I would say one of the biggest things that you have missing here is the community itself. What you're doing is you are targeting a community, you are changing the codes, so you're bringing a bunch of developers in. They don't have any kind of, they're not, but all they're doing is making money on coming in, developing, and then they leave. There's nothing in here about community requirements. There's nothing in here about maintaining the existing, the people who live in that community right now. Make sure that you don't bring something in here that actually pushes them out of their community. There's nothing in here that holds the developer to sustainable development. There's nothing in here that holds the developer to making sure that whatever they develop informs the community or helps the community or assists the community. So I'd say proposed strategy 1 is just saying, we're going to let developers come in here and make a bunch of money and then leave. So it's a gentrification clause. That's how I see it. If all you're saying is we're going to do this, flexible regulations, parking requirements, and make it easier for codes, then all this does is, it doesn't do anything for the community. It does a lot for the developers, but nothing for the community.
Some very good points there. Connor, did you get those down in the notes?
Yep.
And we were also recorded, so we'll have those as well. Do we want to continue on this scenario, or do we want to move to the next one? It talks about if you have more compact development in certain areas, it may be more walkable. But a trade-off of that would be you may have smaller yards. So in the area with like larger yards, you may not have the walkability. So that's kind of what that trade-off is getting to.
Can we just go through the proposed strategies?
Sure.
Just for time's sake, you know,
Sure.
I think that the trade-offs underneath of it, we can come back, or people can go to that link and
Sure.
do it. But if you go through each of the proposed strategies and we kind of talk about them so that we all understand it better, then we can each go to that link and then answer the trade-offs ourselves.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So the second proposed strategy is incorporate affordable housing in all new developments. And that could be through MPDUs, and I'll explain what that is in a second, and other affordable housing options. So MPDUs are currently, it's essentially inclusionary zoning. For any rezoning is required to have a certain amount of the units set aside to be affordable. But affordable housing can also include providing just different types of unit sizes for different types of families and people's needs. So you could consider that as well. And then the third strategy,
You go back up to number 2.
Sure.
Yeah, so like for this one with the affordable housing in all new major developments, like I don't agree with that, because some developments, are targeting different areas and different purposes. And I don't think we should be mixing all the different types of housing and different options for the affordable if that's not what that area is typically showing an interest in. You get down to Middletown, and there's a lot of signs going up on the west side for different neighborhoods that are offering or that are suggesting to add not just single family homes, but townhouses, apartments, everything like that. But on the west side, that's not what is attractive there. That's not what we've seen in the past. It is a low indensed area. The back roads aren't equipped for that. The school system isn't equipped for that. So to go and add in all different types of affordable housing, the area around it isn't ready to support it.
I think that's a great point. So having this strategy by itself, affordable housing, without any kind of support for that is unrealistic. You strain all the support systems and create a really negative situation.
Right.
I mean, you're trying to provide a diverse group of housing, but in the end, you really end up creating stress for that community.
And areas that already have major public transportation, you have Newark and, other areas that already have the bus stations and the train stations and everything else. If you target those areas with the affordable housing options, then sure, you can support it. That area can support it. But you get down in this area where it's just back roads, no shoulders. I mean, it's already dangerous enough for people that want to bike and do things like that. And adding that much more traffic or that much more, if we try to add in more transit, like it's not ready for that. But yet we're seeing signs that, they're ready to start building in those areas. Our schools are already maxed out. Our kids are in trailers. We can't build the schools fast enough to even support it.
those are all good
To have
points.
to have strategy too, you need to have impact studies. But
Right.
but the studies really have to mean something, because I know that what happens a lot of times is that the county or borough or city asks for an impact study, and then the developer does one, and then they take it and then they file it away and they approve the development anyway. So this is a lot more complex. It's not just incorporate affordable housing or make sure they do an impact study. Somebody has to pay attention to it. More traffic, sidewalks, bike lanes, schools. Without the support, you just bring in all these people and bunching them all together with nothing. You
Right.
create a development problem instead of solving an affordable housing issue.
Right. So I think what I'm hearing, and it's something, that does come up a lot, is, it's great in theory to have, affordable housing available in lots of places, but if you don't have the infrastructure, if they don't have the transportation or other elements there, that can also cause more problems, and it's not really helpful to the people living there. So those are all very good points. Does anybody have any other points on strategy 2 before we move on to the next ones?
I just want to say that I am for incorporating more of a variety of housing types. So I think that definitely has to be done. Just plunking down these huge single family homes all over the place is unsustainable. The number of human beings that we have that live in Newcastle County, it's just not, it's not viable. So there needs to be another solution. There really does need to be another solution. I really think that every new major development should be more of a mixed housing type of development. It should have single family homes, it should have townhouses, and maybe some apartments, because you have youngsters that are coming out of college, they can't afford anything, and you put these huge big homes everywhere, and now they got their degrees that we told them to go get and work really hard for, and they come out, they get a job, they can't afford those homes, you know. But there's no apartment nearby, there's no townhouse nearby, there's no starter type of home for these youngsters that are coming out of college and getting some of their first homes. You know, we want them to get married and things like that. People are putting off marriage, they're putting off having children, all because they can't afford all these single family McMansions that are being placed everywhere. So affordable housing, maybe the more correct strategy is not just affordable housing, but diverse housing.
The types of housing.
Yes.
Right. But again, it's got to be in areas that are ready to support that.
Right. Yeah, that sometimes that's called the missing middle. There's just sort of that area of like things that are being built are, you know, usually bigger houses on single family lots, and that's really only not available to a lot of people. So it's you know, if you provide more different types of housing, different sizes, different types of units, those types of things, that in and of itself can provide more affordability, even if it's not necessarily a designated affordable type of housing or in some type of affordable housing program or something like that. So you probably need both, but it needs to be in the appropriate areas, and, you know, make sure that everything can be
right. That's the important part.
Right.
And not have them all clustered together. You know, like I said, one little back road down here, and there's 4 different proposals of clustered of different types of housing going in and on 4 different pieces of land all along one single, you know, back road. We're not prepared to deal with that additional traffic on those back roads. And like I said, our schools, our kids are already in trailers. So if we go and we put in townhomes and apartments and all the different type of housing instead of just a single family that we've seen here, we're not going to be able to support it in around us with the transit and with the schooling. So I agree there needs to be other options, but they need to be targeted to areas that are ready for those options.
Those are all good points, and you know, I think this is what these questions are getting at. Are, you know, they're discussing some of these trade-offs and pluses and minuses. Do we want to go to strategy 3 or skip that and go to strategy 4? I think this gets a little bit at the issue of just having a single family detached housing, and impact fees associated with building new housing. That's what impact fees are designed to do, is designed to offset some of that impact that happens when you build new housing on schools and fire stations and other public services. But if anybody has
So how would the adjustment of impact fees, based on size of the unit, you're saying? So right now it's just based on number of units. So I can put a huge unit down and I'm going to pay the same impact fee no matter how many square foot that particular unit is.
Right. Yeah, that's what that's getting at.
Well, yeah, then I say definitely, yes. Adjust impact fees based on size versus per unit.
Well, and I feel like, you know, not just on the size of the home, it needs to be like number of bedrooms. Like, you know, just because the house is larger, if it doesn't have, you know, more bedrooms, then it's not impacting more.
That's a good point.
I'm not totally sure how that gets involved with zoning.
Aren't the impact fees set by Newcastle County?
I mean, currently it is, those provisions are located within the zoning code.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure how it ended up there historically, but that's where it is for Newcastle County. But it does coordinate. I mean, when somebody does come in to like pull a permit, they also have to go through the Department of Public Works and other departments as well to deal with sewer or those types of things. So there is some coordination.
Okay, I would just add that I'm not sure I'm in favor of a strategy that involves more permissive zoning in residential districts. Most of the issues I'm aware of over the last 40 years had to do with not following the zoning regulations as they were.
Right.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Definitely not more permissive.
I guess one not counterpoint, but one thing to keep in mind is permissive could be the number of units or types of housing permitted in the zoning district, not just necessarily uses per se.